before the turn. By December 1941, Japan was already fighting a huge land war in China. The Pacific attack was not an isolated gamble. It was an attempt to protect a wider theater: China, Manchuria, Korea, Formosa, the Philippines, Malaya, the Dutch East Indies, and the island approaches across the Central Pacific. The strategic map was brutal. Japan needed oil from the Dutch East Indies, rubber and tin from Malaya, coal and industry from Manchuria, and secure sea lanes through the Philippines and island fortress chain. Pearl Harbor was meant to buy time for that perimeter. In the real timeline, the strike crippled battleships, but the American aircraft carriers were away from port. That mattered more than it seemed on the morning of the attack. The Pacific War became a carrier war. Within 6 months, those surviving carriers helped stop Japan at Coral Sea and Midway. So the hinge is simple. What if the Japanese strike finds the carriers at Pearl Harbor? What if the United States enters the war angry, but temporarily blind at sea? From there, the Altist timeline begins. Alternative History, Episode 2, Pearl Harbor. What if Japan had done the impossible? Not just striking Pearl Harbor, but catching and sinking all 3 American fleet carriers assigned to the Pacific. In our timeline, Enterprise, Lexington, and Saratoga were not in the harbor. That accident of timing mattered more than almost anything else on December 7th. In this alternate timeline, they are found and destroyed. The Pacific Fleet loses its battleships and its carrier arm in the same opening blow. For the first 6 months, Japan gets the keener war it wanted. Wake and Guam are isolated. The Philippines are doomed. Malaya, Singapore, and the Dutch East Indies fall on schedule, perhaps faster. The real change comes in the carrier battles that no longer happen. Without those American decks, Coral Sea is unlikely to stop the move toward Port Moresby. Midway, if Japan still chooses to attack it, is no longer the same trap. That does not mean Australia is conquered. Japan did not have the shipping, fuel, troops, or strategic reason to invade a continent. But Australia becomes more exposed. The line from Hawaii to Australia is harder to protect, and the Japanese perimeter sits farther forward. So Japan buys time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. It can dig in across the Central Pacific, New Guinea, and the Solomons before the American counteroffensive truly starts. But the fatal problem remains industrial. Japan can win battles, it cannot outbuild the United States. American yards are already producing the next generation of carriers. Essex-class ships are coming. More pilots, more radar, more submarines, more oil, more repair capacity, and more logistics are coming behind them. Japan's only plausible hope is not military conquest of America. It is political exhaustion, that Washington cannot absorb the mass casualties required to cross the Pacific, and chooses a negotiated settlement instead. But after Pearl Harbor, that was unlikely. A larger disaster probably hardens American resolve more than it breaks it, so the war becomes longer and bloodier. Port Moresby may fall, Midway may not become the turning point, Guadalcanal may be delayed, the casualties rise. But Japan still faces the same equation. It needed a short war against an enemy built for a long one. Sinking the carriers would have been Japan's best possible opening move. It may delay defeat. It probably cannot prevent it.